Good morning. My name is Stephen Colucci, and I'd like to say thank you to SkillPath for allowing me the opportunity to present this demonstration of how to become a better communicator. This PDF file was taken from SkillPath's website and is my version of what SkillPath, I hope, would agree with in presenting this seminar, a one-day seminar, to students, either open enrollment or in a corporate environment. So again, thank you. My contact information will be included with the email that comes along with this. Or if you'd like to jot it down now, 602-684-8631 is my telephone number. And I'm Stephen Colucci, that's Stephen with a V. Colucci is C-O-L-U-C-C-I at att.net. So now I will commence with our presentation on how to become a better communicator. Good morning, class. Thank you very much for being here this morning. I appreciate you coming. I thank you for coming in and having that conversation with me earlier when we started the seminar, when you were registering out in the hallway. I like doing that exercise that I did with you so we can get to know each other, and you can get to know each other, and I can get to know you a little better before we start on our class. So again, thank you for doing that exercise. Later on during the presentation, as we're talking about how to become a better communicator, you'll see a little more on how you could have used these skills in that earlier exercise when we were introducing each other out at the registration table. So you'll see how that goes. Now, to better prepare you for the rest of the day, I'm going to go over just a few slides that will cover the information that we're about to cover. In other words, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. So follow along with me if you would. Today's workshop agenda, we're going to be here from 9 o'clock until 4, and we're going to do 6 sessions. Session number 1 is how to create rapport and build trust. Number 2 is making an impact, how to have power and influence with people. Number 3 is clear and assertive communication. 4, communication with difficult people and in tough situations. We all can experience that, right? Mary, I remember what you were telling me out in front. That was a tough situation. We're going to see a few techniques that might help you with that situation. Session 5 is how to make an unforgettable, positive first impression. Number 6 is business etiquette, professional appearance, polish, how to look good in a professional environment. So we're going to talk about a number of different things, but the agenda here, and everybody got a copy of this, right? You got, Frank, you didn't get a copy? There's, in the back of the room on the table, right over there, you can pick up one. Yeah, right there. Pick one of those. Thanks, Frank. Great. So, now that you've got a copy of the agenda, what we're actually going to be doing is, session 1 will be session 1 and 2, then we're going to take a break, do session 3, then we're going to have an hour for lunch, then session 4 and 5, then another break, and session 6 will conclude afterward. So here's what you're going to learn. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to go over a couple things. I'm going to tell you what we're going to learn. The first is how you can increase levels of collaboration. That's among you, your team members, your managers, the people that you communicate with every single day are very, very important. So you want to have the best communication and collaboration and support for what it is you do each and every day, as opposed to the possible resistance. Next is to express your ideas in a way that gains support. How many of you have gone into a situation and you boldly shook up the room trying to express what it is that you wanted to explain? Well, let's do it in a more sincere and eloquent way, and we'll learn how to do that. Fit in a group. Everybody here has trouble fitting in another group. Some of us are harder or find it harder to fit into a group of strangers than others. We're going to talk about how to do that and do that effectively. And how to make an unforgettable, positive first impression. All of you made a good impression on me. I hope I did on you. So let's move on to the next slide, session 1. How to create rapport, build trust, and establish your credibility. I don't know if these are really secrets, but the secret to establishing rapport is the first thing that we're going to cover. Can you be trusted? Breaking the ice is always difficult. We had that discussion again, too. When you come into a room of strangers, do you become a wallflower, or are you the first one out on the dance floor? Being accepted in any group that we cover. Mouth management skills, how to zip your lip and know when it's appropriate to speak and when not. Increasing your trust, cooperation, and support, and of course, avoiding mixed signals. So let's go right into this. The first secret of developing rapport is to say a person or person's names when you're having a conversation with somebody. And Dale Carnegie put it best in How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that was some 70, 75 years ago. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. It's vital to understand that people like to hear their name. Frank? Yeah, do you agree with that? You think that's a good idea to say someone's name? Yeah, of course. Mary? Of course it is. Justin, what do you think about it? Did you feel a little something when I said Justin? You kind of feel a little tingle when someone says your name, don't you? A little bit of his nerves, but it's also attention. People like to hear their own name. It's the sweetest sound in the English language, or any language for that matter. And then there's eye contact. How many people like to communicate with somebody who's doing this? No, eye contact is important. Now, you don't necessarily want to stare them down in the eyes. It's not a staring contest. But if you make contact and break contact and then go back to them each time that you're having that conversation, then they'll know that you're engaged in the conversation. And it's amazing how much more somebody will trust you and how much more somebody will like you if they can look into your eyes. Be interested, not interesting. But what does that mean? If you're interested in somebody, they're excited because they like to talk about themselves. If you're interesting, that means you're talking about yourself and they can't get a word in. I remember something. I don't even remember when I heard this the first time, but I remember my wife telling me just soon after we had met that the reason that she fell for me was because I asked questions about her and I was interested in her, not trying to brag about myself the whole time. And her experience with men is all they wanted to do is tell their girlfriends how good they were. I didn't really care about how good I was. I wanted to know more about her. I was interested, not interesting. Of course, pay attention to body language, nonverbal cues. What are some nonverbal cues that you've seen before? Justin? Crossing the arms, right. What else? Anybody? Toe tapping. That's impatience. How about, yeah, right, looking at your watch. That's what I was just about to say. And in a world of smartphones, when people are talking to you and then all of a sudden they reach into their pocket and they start doing this bit, how disturbing is that? What are you saying that they're so distracted that they don't want to talk to you, that they're better off with their phone in their hand than they are looking you in the eyes? So pay attention to nonverbal cues. Be a mirror. That's part of the nonverbal cues. If somebody is sitting down, don't stand over them. Sit with them. If they're leaning back and they're comfortable, don't be up front and edgy. Do the things that they do. Smile when they smile. Enjoy life the way they enjoy life, and they'll feel more comfortable and you'll be a better communicator. Respect personal boundaries. I can't press this enough. Everybody has a different set of boundaries. We're infused with different cultures. We're diverse. There's men and women. There's young people, there's old people. There's cultural differences and racial differences. There's religious differences. Respect personal boundaries. And of course, choose the proper language. Remember, don't take liberties by using colorful language, foul language, or things that might be offensive to somebody. You know what words they are, and they may not be offensive to you, but your choice of language to people is very, very important to your successful communication with them. So now, do others see you as trustworthy? Well, you know if you're trustworthy or not, right? I know if I'm trustworthy, but do you know that I'm trustworthy and vice versa? How do you gain trust with people? First thing is be dependable. Always do what you say. If you raise your hand and say, I volunteer to do X, do X. Follow through. Complete the task. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't lie. Not even the little ones. Because you're going to get caught. You know what they say? You probably heard this before. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory, right? Because if you tell a lie, you're going to get caught. It always backfires. Just tell the truth and you're safe. People will trust you because they'll know the difference. Now, this is kind of unique. Volunteer information. What do I mean by volunteer information? Anybody? Yeah, you tell them, well, you don't want to talk about personal things. You know, there are things that you want to keep private. You don't want to volunteer things that you don't want someone to know. However, volunteer information by giving complete answers. For example, this is a simple conversation. So, an example of breaking down trust. How did the meeting with the lawyer go? To which the person responds, it went fine. Well, what does that mean? It went fine. Did it really go fine? Are they concealing something? Was there something bad happening that I need to know about? There's a barrier there. They're a little upset. Example of building trust is how did the meeting with the lawyer go? It went fine. The whole day was stressful. Getting all the documentation together, and we barely made it on time. We both signed and said we would get it mailed out tomorrow. That's enough information. The person on the other end of that can say, okay, I got what I needed. I trust them. They went to that lawyer's office. They gave me a complete answer. So that's a big part of building trust. Now, Mary, we were talking earlier, this is where I said we would get into it. Breaking the ice is always difficult. Walking up to a stranger is tough. My kids tell me, or ask me, Dad, how do you do it? Funny thing is they do it too. They just don't see it. I guess they follow my lead. But breaking the ice is always difficult. So one of the things that you can do is stay up to date on popular culture. You don't have to be a big fan of Lady Gaga. You might be, I don't know. But stay up to date on current affairs, things that are happening around the world. You don't need to know all the specifics. You bring up a topic, something topical and something fresh, like, hey, the Pope. That's what's going on right now. Now, you don't necessarily want to talk religion or politics, but it is current events, and it is something that you can begin a conversation with. The most important part of breaking the ice is not telling somebody who you are. Don't be that person that walks in and hands out business cards and says, I got a deal for you. That's cheesy. You don't want to be that person. What you want to do is say, hey, tell me about yourself. Really, do you like to do that? Why do you like to do that? How often do you do it? Ask questions. Find out what makes that person tick. There's an acronym that I like to use. I learned a long time ago. It helps guide the conversation. It's a big part of what we were doing this morning in the exercise. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Remember that? I asked you about first it's called form. The first thing I asked you about was what? Family. I wanted to find out about your family. Oh, people love to talk about their family. Or maybe they like to make fun of their family, but they'll always talk about family. You know, children, spouses, siblings, what's going on in the world with your family. That's always something that people like or enjoy. The next is occupation. If they're not going to tell you how great their job is, they'll surely tell you how lousy it is. But you can always get somebody talking about their job. Where are they? Do they like their job? How long have they been there? And so forth. Recreation. Best one. You can stop here most of the time. Recreation, what do they like to do for fun? They like to shoot pool? Do they drink wine? Do they like to sit and watch TV? Are they a football fan? Do they like bull riding? What kind of music do they enjoy? All of those things fall under recreation. What do they do for fun and hobbies and so forth? And the last one, now this one can get sticky. Don't talk about specific financial issues when you talk about money. Talk about economic conditions, but people will always talk about money. Money is part of everyday life, and you can get in any conversation going. Just be careful not to give too much information about your own finances or ask them for information about theirs. Now, we were talking about being accepted in any group. It's tough, especially in a culturally diverse society. My neighbors are made up of people from 6, 7 different countries. My wife's friends and my friends are very diverse. They're men, they're women, they're young, they're old. They're from a variety of different cultures. So how do you fit in with those people? The first thing is listen to them. Even if what you hear is boring or you're disinterested in it, listen to what they're saying. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? You're like, oh, I want to roll my eyes. Oh, this is so, you're so bored with what's going on, but you have to listen. And then you might hear something that you key in on that's in your world, that's in your field of knowledge. That leads you to the next point. Find anything in that conversation so you have a jump-in point and you can start having a discussion. But again, if you don't know, ask questions. Don't be reluctant to talk about something you don't know. I mentioned bull riding earlier, I think. I don't know anything about bull riding, but I got in a conversation with somebody who turned out to be one of my better friends. Now, I wear a suit and tie most of the time, and he wears a big belt buckle and boots. And he's a bull rider, and he's a great friend of mine. We're completely different in our endeavors, but we come together in the middle on certain things, and we're really good friends in those areas. Now I know a little bit about bull riding. Move the conversation slowly towards some things that are important to you. It's a give and take. You know, having a conversation with somebody and communicating is not a monologue. You're not a stand-up comic. You're not giving a speech. You're communicating. So instead of a monologue, it should be a dialogue.